Honorable Princess Buthelezi, you can go ahead.
State-owned enterprises have been failing dismally for years on end, and the people of South Africa have been left to suffer the consequences. Chair, I believe I do not have to remind anyone in this House of the effects of load shedding. Due to Eskom's failure, commuters struggling to get to their places of employment due to Pras's failure, or thousands of South Africans losing their sources of income due to SAPO's failure. These examples are merely the tip of the failing SOE iceberg. The very entities tasked with supporting our country's socio-economic growth, addressing economic injustices of the past, and a current weltering economy have unfortunately been consistently draining our economy. Yet here we are again, debating the establishment of another state-owned entity. Water is the lifeline of all South Africans. Therefore, it is critical that it be managed effectively and efficiently. And the constitutional right to water is upheld. The current condition of our country's water infrastructure is concerning, to say the least. The bill provides for a single national government institution to manage water infrastructure and resources. However, considering that corruption and mismanagement have run rampant in institutions run by the government, as the IFP, we have to err on the side of caution. Why is the solution always a new agency or state-run entity when we already have institutions in place to ensure the effective management of our country's water infrastructure? The unnecessary duplication of mandates only provides government departments with effective scapegoats when they fail to deliver on their mandates. We have seen how departments blame shift and how South Africans are still left with challenges unaddressed. For this bill to have any impact, the government needs to ensure that the management of this new entity rests on the shoulders of individuals who are capable of doing their job and truly desire to serve the people of South Africa. In consideration of the reservations made, the IFP supports the bill. Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you very much, Honorable Buthelezi. The Honorable Three.
Honorable House Chairperson, the ACDP notes that this bill seeks to provide for the establishment of the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Agency as a state-owned company and a major public entity. In other words, the establishment of another SOE. The Department of Water and Sanitation is commissioned to ensure that the country's water resources are managed sustainably and equitably for everyone's benefit. But it has been in a constant state of flux, contributing to instability of governance. The ACDP agrees with the Helen Suzman Foundation, which noted numerous challenges in the department, which includes poor financial management, where in the 2017-18 financial year, the department reported an overdraft of 119 million rand, cumulative unauthorized expenditure of 933 million, irregular expenditure of 6.1 billion, 16 million of fruitless and wasteful expenditure and accruals and payables to the value of just over 2 billion. The water trading industry is in an even worse financial position, where it reported an overdraft of 1.4 billion, fruitless and wasteful expenditure of 1 billion, accruals and payments to the value of 1.4 billion, and a deficit of 573 million. The situation today is no different. The department has consistently experienced instability in leadership over the past few years. It has had 8 different directors general fulfilling the positions on 10 different occasions and mostly occupied in an acting capacity. South Africa's water infrastructure is at risk of failure. Consistently poor performance of water and sanitation infrastructure is attributed to poor governance in national and local departments, poor asset management, insufficient maintenance, lack of technical skills within key planning and operational divisions in both the departments and municipalities, poor enforcement of policies, theft, vandalism of infrastructure, financial mismanagement, and funding shortfalls. South Africa's average water loss, defined as non-revenue water through physical leakages or commercial losses by billing errors and theft, is estimated to be over 40% of water used. The ACDP believes that well-monitored public-private partnerships are the way to go, but certainly not another SOE. If a state-owned anything was sufficient, the ACDP might give these plans another chance, but we will not give our approval to another opportunity for corruption with no improvement in service delivery. The ACDP has heard the SOS of South Africans. We declare that South Africans need the ACDP, and the ACDP calls on South Africans registered to vote for the African Christian Democratic Party on the 29th of May. The ACDP does not support this bill. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Train. UDM, ATM, the Honorable Haron. Good.
Thank you, Chair. Chair, while the country continues to build the battle the energy crisis, our next crisis is charging at us in the form of water. Cholera outbreaks, pipes running dry in multiple communities, and a continued drop in water quality shows where we are heading, and the cliff is fast approaching. This bill needs to create a significant enough impact that the opening of taps is normalized and not politicized. The bill before us today seeks to establish an agency primarily focused on securing water infrastructure funding through the authority of the state. While it is undeniable that funding for our massive rehaul of water infrastructure is vital, the continued focus on operational changes will lead to our current crisis in areas like Gauteng devolving due to lack of agency. The 2023 Water Services Drop Program reports, the Blue, Green, and No Drop Watch reports, show that almost 50% of the water in our municipalities is unsafe to drink. This should set alarm bells off, but the continued collapse of infrastructure remains the primary concern. Good stresses that water is a basic human right and that this country is failing its citizens by denying them this right. The South African Human Rights Commission Limpopo reports of 2023 showed that a third of the residents do not have access to safe water. Streams that are unmaintained are the only source of water for cooking, cleaning, and drinking. Good asks that the nation to accept the fact that we are already in a water crisis. It is time we acknowledge and act with urgency that this human right requires. The bill has the potential to ensure that there's a faster process of refurbishment or the potential to be another wasteful expenditure. We must ensure that it's the former. The objective of the agency this bill seeks to create is to provide, operate, and maintain the national water resources infrastructure and fund the cost thereof. This is a colossal task and requires an immense focus on groundwork and transparency. With the continued breakdown in both water and sanitation infrastructure, we expect this agency to be thorough in the evaluations of our existing infrastructure and target the communities who are most vulnerable. In a month that celebrates human rights, let us remind ourselves that water is the single most necessary resource for human survival. With the dire state that our water resources find itself in, we are risking human lives. When we consider changing supply and environmental factors, we are putting the whole of the country at risk in the next 30 years. Good support for the implementation of this bill. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Haron. The Honorable Sheikh Imam.
Thank you, House Chairperson. A report by the South African Human Rights Commission, a damning report on the state of quality water in KwaZulu-Natal. And Minister, whilst we acknowledge and welcome the South African National Water Resources Infrastructure Bill, we need to be mindful of one very important factor: the exploitation through the use of water tankers. So there is no motivation to actually fix the infrastructure because high levels of corruption takes place through these water tankers. We've seen what happens in the IFP-run municipalities in Zululand, which coincidentally, the DA and the EFF have raised seriously previously about the corruption in these IFP-run municipalities. And thank you to the EFF for raising that anyway. But you'd find that the Democratic Alliance will not go one step further and do anything about it. But their focus is with the obsession on the ANC. Let us also not forget what happened a few years ago in the Western Cape, when they were receiving 600 million rand, Chairperson, kickback from the Israeli government and said we had a water crisis, day zero, if you remember. Suddenly the day zero has disappeared. But what happened in that process, Chairperson? Ordinary Cape Townians had to pay a very high price with additional levies and surcharges. Even though they were using less water, were still paying more. That is the level of corruption. I'm not sure when the honorable member spoke, she said the DA is dirty or the city of Cape Town, that the DA is dirty. But whatever it is, both ways, they are dirty in what they are doing. But be that as it may, 95% of people in Palestine do not have clean drinking water as a result of the Zionist state of Israel. And these democratic alliance will go and work together with the Zionist state of Israel, support them, defend them. And what can we expect in the future if the city of Cape Town remains in the DA's hands or the Western Cape? So let me tell you, in the Western Cape, you will face the same plight as the Palestinians. You wouldn't even be able to have a decent glass of water in the Western Cape because they don't care about anybody else but white supremacists. That is what it is all about. That is why you would find that the Cape Flats, Nyangas, Langas, and Crossroads, people have no services when it comes to water and others. So I'm not surprised. But go to the Bishop Courts and the other areas.
Thank
That
you
is where
very
they
much,
come from. That's
Honorable
where they
Imam.
deserve and support. So I'm calling on you not to support the DA.
Thank you very much, Honorable Imam. Your time is up.
Thank you.